That's what's happening right now. It feels like we're in a toxic relationship with a system who is a narcissist. From the beginning of time, there has been accountability. From the creation story of Adam and Eve, every decision made against a set standard has been held accountable. A sign of health from a person comes from their ability to be held accountable for their feelings and their actions. If a person cannot do these things, they might be one of two extreme things: a child or a narcissist. If you cannot be held accountable for your actions, you cannot grow, you cannot mature. If you really have an issue facing your mistakes, owning your feelings, or even apologizing, you might be unhealthy in some areas. If you're constantly blaming others or turning the narrative to the other person involved and insisting it's not your fault or your problem, narcissist? And on top of all of those things, if you cannot show empathy, that is a problem. The reality is people and systems that function in this way are frail and extremely insecure. Just like people who can't handle being critiqued or corrected or challenged. They are insecure, they are frail, they are not functioning at their highest capacity. These types of people, these types of systems, they ruin relationships, they ruin families and communities and opportunities for other people. And by the way, it all causes uproar in the country. That's what's happening right now. It feels like we're in a toxic relationship with a system who is a narcissist. But as I encourage empathy, I do my best to try to see the other side. In the moment, search warrant, what's on the other side of the door? Who knows? Shots fired. I don't know what a cop is thinking in that moment, what's going through their head, how quickly everything is moving in real time. No clue. So for those who would say, based on what was presented, there really wasn't enough evidence to hold someone responsible for Breonna Taylor's murder, my question is still, who is accountable then? What is accountable? The policymakers, the trainings, the systems, something has to change. You cannot just have people out here dying and being killed talking about, well, we don't have enough to hold somebody responsible, so that's it. If someone is not going to be held accountable, then we absolutely have to change how we're going about all of this stuff. Some of the policies that should have been in place in the first place may have kept this whole scenario from happening. I don't know about you, but the outcome of this case kind of feels like gaslighting. Like this whole time, I thought we were talking about this one thing over here, right? We came into the conversation with this context, this evidence, this narrative. Now, all of a sudden, it's been over 190 days, and we have a whole nother narrative and maybe other evidence, and there was no transparency, part of Heart Combos. People weren't exactly being honest, also a part of Heart Combos, and nobody really wants to address the elephant in the room, the fact that someone's been killed, or murdered, shall I say. Again, the Heart Combos actually haven't been had, therefore, at this point, one of us is crazy. So now I'm questioning stuff. That kind of stuff happens in conversation with really unhealthy people. Have you ever been there? It creates anxiety and chaos. No one is going to feel safe, and mistrust is just going to grow. And depending on if you're fight or flight, you're either like walking on eggshells out here, like, like at any point this person's gonna go off and I just don't want to push against the system, and or you already outside. You already on the street, just like this right here, like, you didn't already made phone calls, written somebody, like it. Please don't let the way that this case is played out in this system or in the media be the way that your relationships play out amidst all of this stuff. Basic love your neighbor as yourself mentality will help. If she was your daughter, if it was your mom, your girlfriend, your wife, you would want someone to be accountable, and you wouldn't want it to be chalked up as a fluke or whatever. But to be honest, a lot of us are on some dissociative disorder type stuff. Like, I don't really associate myself with the negative things that I see happening around me. We like to remove ourselves from the emotion and the empathy of a thing like this. But why? Oh, that has nothing to do with me, because you've never been mistreated. You've never felt done wrong. You've never been at the short end of the stick. You've never felt looked over. You've never been taken advantage of. No one's ever gotten over on you. Or maybe all of those things are true, and there's just an immense amount of privilege that you're experiencing. That's a problem, that we can do that so easily now. We relate to the things that we want to relate to. However, relating to the trauma of Black and brown people in this country is something that's really, really difficult for a lot of us to do, mainly because of the narrative of Black and brown people in this country. But that's another video for another time. Today is a sad day for a lot of people who were looking for some glimmer of hope, unlikely glimmer, but some glimmer of hope, that justice would be served. Maybe for some people it was, but for a lot of people, oh no, no. And a good friend of mine, he always says, if I said it hurt, it hurt. And a lot of people are hurting today because they leaned in vulnerably to say, this hurts and this matters. And the outcome of today's announcement feels like the other person is not acknowledging the hurt or that someone should be held accountable. That's the root of all conflict right there. So yes, there's going to be tension in the street. Yes, people are going to have something to say. And I suggest, for your relationship's sake, you think about it now, before it hits in a random conversation at work, before somebody says something insensitive, before somebody tries to be empathetic and doesn't follow through very well, and everybody's offended and all the things. Think about it now. Just do some self-work to empathize and to really, really just try to lean in. And at the end of the day, resolve to love your neighbor as yourself. Treat other people the way that you would want to be treated. These are really hard conversations, but it doesn't change the fact that they still need to be heart conversations. I love y'all. Peace.